ITV have been training it like mad, and we finally got to see
The ITV.
the fruits of the ITV's version of The Masked Singer, which is this surprisingly hugely popular show where celebrities, quote unquote, are dressed up in these horrifically over-the-top costumes,
garish,
perform live to a panel of judges or guests, I don't know what you'd call them. Aim of the game is to guess who is behind the mask and then vote off each one. And so they are revealed at the end of the program. Well, only one is revealed at the end of each program. So on this panel, we have Davina McCall, Rita Ora, Ken Jeong, and Jonathan Ross, and the whole thing is hosted by ITV's man of the moment, Joel Dommett. I had heard a lot about the US version. I think it's in its third season on Fox.
I'd actually seen some of the US version. The sort of compilation of the celebrities being unmasked popped up on a YouTube video just randomly on my feed. I don't know what on my algorithm would.
No, they know you well.
But it sort of intrigued me enough to watch some of the second season. I mean, like the version you saw last night, a lot of it is drawn out. And as you say, I think they've probably paid quite a lot for the rights to this. But this was trailered not just on ITV. I saw it trailered quite a lot on Channel 4 and probably Channel 5 as well when I was watching. You know, so it's trailered across other channels. The concept is the judging panel do vote for who they want to stay in, as do the audience as well. You know, it's not a phone vote or anything like that. It's pre-recorded and it's purely on that audience vote. It's more of a guessing game than it is a singing competition, really, because, you know, each of these masked characters gives clues to the celebrity they are.
But obviously their voice is disguised.
Yeah, the only time you hear their voice is when they're singing, and it's sort of how, you know, memorable that singing voice is. I mean, in the States, they had people like Gladys Knight, Patti LaBelle.
They're big names
Seal.
for a silly singing show, aren't
Seal, Donny Osmond. I mean, the second series was won by Wayne Brady, someone me and you know, because we watched a lot of Whose Line Is It Anyway? And as someone said on YouTube, I've watched far too many hoedowns not to recognise that voice is Wayne.
I had a wee next to Wayne Brady. That's my, you know, I don't know how often he talks about it, but
it came up. It was one of the clues actually on the Masked Singer, and that's how I. Works out.
I hope that's true.
I suppose this version of the Masked Singer, because you really hadn't watched.
No, I tell you what,
the US version, and then I can maybe fill in with some comparisons.
It did really well on the overnight figures. It trounced BBC One's light entertainment show, The Greatest Dancer, which was on exactly the same time. I hadn't seen it. I knew the concept, and I just found it quite a frustrating format. The sort of through the keyhole aspects where the judging panel would name somebody and the audience would clap as if they were sort of getting close when the audience didn't know any more than the judging panel. Jonathan Ross actually referenced that in the first episode. I thought it was far too long. And I think Ken Jeong serves no purpose because he just does the same gag every time, picking somebody who it cannot be, like Angela Lansbury or Olivia Colman.
That he's on the panel in the US as well, which because the other panelists in the States are Robin Thicke, Nicole Scherzinger, and 90s pin-up Jenny McCarthy. But if you didn't know he was on the panel in the States, which I don't know if they actually mentioned,
they didn't seem to.
You'd be thinking, what the hell's he doing here? And I think that he appeared like people did have that knowledge of that's his character on the show in the States. Is this sort of foolish person who will go, I know exactly who this is. You know, that is his character. But, you know, coming in cold to this version, you know, and as you say, unlike when The Voice came over here, that was a sort of a show that people knew about, I think, more before it came over here. You know, The Masked Singer isn't a concept that's been running for years. It's on its third series in about, you know, a year and a half because it is that popular in the States. But it hasn't permeated over here. So this character that Ken Jeong's playing doesn't work because you have not watched an episode of the US version and you were wondering why he was doing it.
Well, it wasn't so much wondering. I just found it annoying. And actually, I always feel sorry for people from a foreign country who end up in these roles, because ultimately when Patsy Palmer takes her bee head off, he wouldn't have a clue who it was anyway. And
she was on them Walmart commercials. You know, she spent some time in
LA. It was Best Buy, I think, but I'll let you off.
Okay. But it wasn't believable when he was sort of talking. You know, there's is it the Duck who's an athlete, and he was talking about Paula Radcliffe, and it just feels like he's been given these lines that are being fed to him.
I found it annoying that everybody they mentioned had a little photo next to it in case. Mm-hmm.
But again, they do. That's something they do.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah. For me, if they'd have sung, had a couple of guesses, and took the mask off, I would have quite enjoyed that. But I just find it a really irritating format. It just seems like everybody knows it's terrible, but they go along with it. And I know it's gonna get that. It's camp, it's brilliant, I love it, and it's just a bit of silly telly. And I don't think bad of anyone who thinks like that. But as a new entertainment show, I just found it really irritating, actually, more than I thought I would. And not because it's terrible, but just because the format is pretty relentlessly repetitive.
I don't think it works as well over here. I don't think, it's got the bombast that it does in the States. The opening package before it went into the opening titles, you know, in America it's like, it's the Masked Singer, you know, and in the UK it's like, welcome to TV's most exciting...
We won't shout in case you're holding a hot cup of tea.
I also think Joel Dommett isn't the right person to be hosting this. I think
really, but I thought he'd be as good as he could be.
He'd work more on the panel, I think, instead of Ken Jeong. You know, they need someone a bit more of a hype man, like you know, Nick Cannon does it in the States, and he's very much
to rile things up.
To get people excited, because he's predominantly a comedian. His style is more, you know, sarcasm, observational stuff, which doesn't work as being the host of a Saturday night entertainment show. And also in the States, they have the rights to the Who song, you know, the Who Are You song. And in this version, they've got this really sort of cheap "Who Are You?" song on
Who's it. Behind the mask?
That's it, which doesn't work with the sort of frantic take it off thing, which all seems a bit more sinister than it does on the American show. It just seems a little bit cheaper. And another thing as well is the way that they were voted off in the final, and we got left with the butterfly at the end. In the States, again, they do like a sing-off between the final two, but because it was the final three, it all just seemed a little bit messier. And maybe they'll sort of figure out the format. You know, it took a while and I think you'll argue that The Voice never really found its feet, but I think it took a while for the UK to sort of at least settle on a format that worked for The Voice.
Certainly a panel that worked as well.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be too harsh on it on its first episode, but at the same time they were sort of trumpeting this as like a massive thing. And I think as well, maybe this will get a lot of YouTube views internationally.
Because I'll admit that, because obviously the preview ITV sent us ended with the take it off, and then we didn't see who was revealed to be. I wanted to look on websites just to see, not just because I was desperate to know who it was, but more the caliber of act that ITV has managed to book.
I went on ITV Play last night just to watch that final thing. And I mean, did you have a guess about who it was ahead of time? Did you have a feeling you knew who it was?
No, I didn't really.
I had a feeling it was a soap star based on the thing about the wedding being watched by millions. I more sort of plumped towards Martine McCutcheon. And have you got any guesses at all for who the other people are? Do you care?
See, it's weird. For me, it's more because, you know, when they were saying daft things like Paula Radcliffe, Angela Lansbury, I don't know who else they mentioned, but the cynic in me goes, ITV wouldn't have booked anybody of that caliber, and most people don't look at it like that. But I am intrigued not to watch the show, but to see who was involved afterwards.
I think you would like to see people who you don't normally see on these celebrity shows, you know. Because over Christmas, when there's been so many celebrity versions of things.
The whole point is obviously the Masked Singer, the intrigue let's at least unmask 2 of them at a time, you know. And also, there's going to be that moment for the majority of people where they take off the mask and people go, I don't even know who that is. They've got to be careful.
I got that on the American one, but again, that's because it's I think Americans watching this may know 1 or 2. Like, for example, I knew Seal, Kelly Osbourne, Raven Simone, Wayne Brady in the last series, but there was a lot of people.
You've not wasted your life.
There was a basketball player. I mean, you lived in the States for a long time, so I mentioned these names to you. You go, oh yeah, I know that person, I know that person, I know that person. So I'll probably watch it on YouTube and keep up with who's being revealed every week. A lot of these Saturday night shows I watch via YouTube clips now. Like
condensed. I think the whole show could be just one 15-minute YouTube clip, really. It's probably more telling of my attention span for things like this than anything else.
I mean, like, for example, The Voice, all I really want to know is the performances, and you mentioned The Greatest Dancer. I watched a couple of clips of that. Interestingly, on The Greatest Dancer...
I doubt what you're going to say next would be that interesting, but off you pop.
And I will shout out one of our regular listeners, Daryl Miller, as well, who noted this. The concept of that is that they are dancing behind a mirror, and they have to get 75% of the audience to vote for them on a little dial type thing before this mirror opens and they get through to the next round. In the last series, they showed you the dials going up and the percentages, but they, for some reason, stopped that in this series, which made it really confusing for me, because that is something that you're watching and you're anticipating. Are they going to make it?
Are they going to make it through?
And I don't understand. And that is a Psycho show as well, isn't it? Greatest Dancer. Who's producing this version?
I don't know much about the Masked Singer, to be honest.
Because there wasn't as many sort of reaction shots as you normally get in a Psycho thing. Not as many people going, "Oh, I know who this is. This will be that person." Oh, that was a good guess. Because if it was Psycho, you'd get all that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I don't reckon it's him. I reckon it's...
Yeah.
You're on telly, Barbara.
Yeah.